Nissan Micra used to be a bit of a joke, really, let's be honest. It sold quite well, but to people who were interested in cars, it was just a car, it was just an object. It's nothing to get really that excited about. Now, however, things have changed a little bit, and the new Nissan Micra is actually a car that might catch your eye. The engine is a tiny 0.9 litre turbocharged 3-cylinder, not a 1 litre, but a 0.9 litre. It produces 90 brake horsepower at 5,500 RPM and 103 foot-pounds of torque at 2,250 RPM. Because of that, performance is slow. 0 to 60, 12.1 seconds and a top speed of 109 miles an hour. Because there isn't much power, you've got to work the engine really, really hard to get anywhere. And below 3,000 RPM, you really aren't going anywhere. And in some ways, there's a charm to that. There is a charm to kind of trying to get the most out of a car with not very much power. But I think because the Micra is a bigger car, you kind of expect it to have a bit more oomph. I think the bigger issue for me though with the engine is just that the power delivery isn't particularly smooth. So at about 2,500-3,000 RPM is when the turbo wakes up. It's quite difficult to be smooth with the throttle, particularly pulling away. It's either I don't accelerate at all, or I get everything and the passengers think that I'm being an idiot. So it would be nice if it was quite a bit smoother. For the first time in a Nissan Micra though, the steering actually works. It actually feels like you have some sort of connection to the road. It's not brimming with feel, it's an electric power steering system and it's quite light. But once you head into a corner, you start to put some angle on the steering wheel. Although there isn't much feel, it's consistent, and you feel like there is some sort of connection between you, the driver, and the wheels. In the old Micra, there really wasn't. It wasn't a car that you'd particularly have much faith in if you started to pitch into a corner. This is different, and it's all the better for it. The gearbox is a 5-speed manual, and if I'm honest, it isn't fantastic. I remember at the launch I drove both the petrol and the diesel versions of the new Micra, and the diesel had a slightly better gearbox. It just had a bit more weight to it. And again, now driving this petrol one, I kind of think, it is quite light, and it's also quite obstructive when you try and change gear quickly. So if you want to move around the gears quite often and quite fast, then it's not that great to use. Suspension, well, there's a little bit of roll. There's always going to be a little bit of roll. But this drives really, really well. The chassis is so much better than it used to be. I can't stress that enough. Struggles a bit with mid-corner bumps. If you're pushing reasonably hard and you go over a bump, you can feel the chassis start to wobble a little bit. But actually, this has got considerably more grip than I was expecting, both in the wet and the dry. But the suspension is still supple enough that you can do long journeys without complaining. Nissan have also got two systems called Intelligent Trace Control and Intelligent Ride Control. And what Intelligent Trace Control does is it brakes the inside wheel when you're going around a corner, so it can help tighten the line and pull you tighter into the corner. And Intelligent Ride Control, that just helps keep you steadier over bumps in the road by using the brakes and by using the engine. It's not the most driver-orientated small car on the market, but again, draw your mind back to the old Nissan Micra. This is considerably better to drive than that old Micra, and those two systems help to do it. As for the way it looks, both inside and out, again, it is quite an improvement. Look at the outside. This is a Micra, and look at some of the lines, some of the creases, some of the little folds over the bodywork. It's really, really good. Inside, similarly, it's miles better. It's actually interesting in the same way that something like a Fiat 500 has charm to it. It's got some design flair. This has got some design flair too. Like in this car, we've got like orange, it's not real leather I don't think, but we've got orange soft touch leather running across the dashboard. I feel like I'm sitting a little bit too high in the car, but there's enough adjustability in the steering wheel to at least get me somewhere close to comfortable. All in all, I can't really believe that this is a Micra. It isn't the sharpest car to drive, I'm not trying to claim that, but think about where the Micra was and where this new one is. It is a considerable leap, and it's a brilliant job by Nissan. bye.